You know that person who is completely different at work than they are with their family? Confident in meetings, then suddenly quiet at the dinner table. Or the one who is funny and loose with close friends, but goes stiff and formal the moment someone new walks in. You've noticed this in others, but here's the thing. You've done it too. You've walked into a room and felt yourself become someone else. Different posture, different words, a different laugh even. And the version of you that showed up wasn't a performance exactly. It just happened. Afterwards, a small part of you wondered which one was actually real. Most people assume this means something is wrong with them, that they're unstable, a social chameleon, maybe even a little dishonest. The research says something completely different. The people who shift most dramatically across contexts aren't the ones with the weakest sense of self. Here's the part nobody warns you about. They're often the ones who survived the most environments that demanded different things of them. What the next few minutes will explain is not just why this happens, but what it actually says about the system that built you. Psychologists call this self-concept variability. What that means in plain language is that you don't carry one fixed self into every room. You carry a network of selves, all real, all yours, and different people activate different ones. Not because you're performing, because you were shaped inside different relationships, and those relationships are stored inside you. Your brain doesn't experience this as confusion, it experiences it as recognition. This is a system response. It developed because different environments required different things to be safe in them. That's where it started. That's why it's still running. The first layer is what this looks like in practice. You're in a meeting with your manager. Your posture straightens. Your sentences get shorter. You stop using the words you'd use with someone you trust. You don't decide to do any of this. Your nervous system just recalibrates. Later, you're with someone who knew you as a child, and your voice changes pitch. You use older vocabulary. You laugh at different things. None of this is calculated. Your system read the relationship and retrieved the version of you that was built there. Psychologist Snyder found that people vary significantly in how much they adapt their behavior across social contexts, and that this variability is not a sign of instability, but of a highly functional social intelligence. The real-world implication is this. If you shift between contexts naturally, it doesn't mean you don't know who you are. It means your social system is doing exactly what it was trained to do. And here's the second layer most people miss. It's not just your behavior that changes, it's which version of your own history you can access. Researcher Susan Andersen found that when we're around certain people, we don't just act differently, we actually remember ourselves differently. Old relationships activate old self-concepts. You're around someone who treated you as incapable for years, and suddenly your past failures feel recent, vivid, defining. You're around someone who genuinely believes in you, and you can access a version of yourself that feels competent, even certain. This means the people in your life aren't just affecting your mood, they are affecting what part of your own story feels true in that moment. So the question of who you really are isn't a question about personality, it's a question about which room you're standing in. There's a word that people probably used about you at some point. Fake, two-faced, hard to read. You were told, directly or through implication, that there was something inconsistent about you, that a real person would be the same everywhere, that shifting was a kind of deception. None of that was true. What was actually happening is that you were reading rooms. You were pulling from a set of learned responses built across years of different environments and deploying the right one. You weren't being fake, you were being safe. The version of you that exists in a relaxed room and the version that exists in a tense one are both real, both yours. You were never broken. You were calibrated. What actually governs this behavior is conditioning, not character. Every relationship you've ever been in trained you. It taught you what was rewarded here, what was safe to show, what landed and what didn't. Your body stores those lessons the way it stores muscle memory. Not as conscious choice, but as automatic response. The version of you that shows up in a given room isn't random. It's the version that learned to survive that specific dynamic. Understanding this doesn't mean you're stuck with it. It means you can begin to notice which relationships are still running old code and whether that code still fits who you're becoming.
Not every version of you was built for the same thing. Some were built to survive, some were built to connect, and some, in the right conditions, were built to finally be still. Drop a comment. Do you feel like you have a true self, or does it shift depending on who you're with? If this explains something you never had words for, subscribe. That's what every video on this channel is trying to do. And if this one landed, the next video is on the psychology of people who feel most like themselves when they're completely alone. It might be the other half of this same story.